Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga Texas construction update video. Hey everybody, it's Joe. Welcome back to Giga Texas. It's Monday, the 4th of September, and here in the United States, it's a holiday. It's the Labor Day holiday, and because of that, there's not a whole lot of activity going on at the site today. So instead, I decided to use this opportunity to give you a grand tour of the entire property, over 3,000 acres worth, and I hope that you'll enjoy these different views and this opportunity that a holiday presented itself. Now, a few things that I do want to take care of in the intro before we get into the video. First of all, on Saturday, I released part 2 of my in-depth, detailed discussion about the construction of the lithium refinery that Tesla is putting in near Corpus Christi. And in that episode, we talked about the ponds and what the uses are on the site. And tomorrow, as a premiere, my next part, this one's going to be about some of the construction techniques, foundations, and some of the piers that they're putting in for the construction at that lithium refinery. So take a look at that tomorrow when it comes out. One other piece of news that I'd like to discuss real quick, and that has to do with this image here. I've now flown over 621 hours, over 6,635 miles of drone flight, and 2,313 individual flights over Giga Texas. So it's pretty amazing to think that over 3 years, just how much you can fly these little drones. Now, for the intro, I mentioned we're going to do a grand tour, and as you can see by a few of these images, we get a chance to see quite a bit from the most farthest southwest corner and all the way up to the farthest northeast corner and everything in between. And finally, I did get a chance to see a few Cybertrucks. There was 4 of them. They were all covered today, but it's great to see some more of those out here at the site, and I thought you might enjoy seeing that. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Let's do the grand tour, and as always, thank you very much for your support. I do appreciate it, and have a great day. Thank you to my Patreon members and ex-subscribers. Members and subscribers gain access to hundreds of high-resolution images, previews of future material, and direct dialogue with me. If you would like to support my efforts, please consider using these links, which will be in the video description. If you are interested in Tesla products, you can help yourself and support me by using my referral code. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons on my YouTube video, as this helps as well. Thank you. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga Texas. Well, happy Labor Day, and I hope that you're enjoying this long weekend with friends and family. There's not a lot of activity going on at the site today, so I thought this would be a perfect time to do another grand tour flight. I haven't done one in some time, and there's been a lot of changes all over the place, and a lot of new viewers too that may have not seen the extent of the property that Tesla owns here at Giga Texas. So I thought this would be a great opportunity. So here we're on the east side, continuing to fly to the east. You can see where that multi-level garage is being constructed and the main factory. A lot of the roads here and amongst the trees and the Colorado River right in the middle of the screen. As I continue to fly towards the east, you'll see this large lake just coming into view. This is actually part of the property that Tesla owns. They did a land purchase at the end of 2021, and this was actually added to the overall property that Tesla has here at Giga Texas. The top center of the screen, you can see the battery cathode plant and the die shop. Obviously on the left is the main factory, and this is a really good pullback just to give you a sense of the amount of land that is part of this property. Now in the center top of the screen, you can see that kind of silver structure. This is part of a horse ranch. This is actually owned by Tesla, but it's being re-rented out or leased back out to those residents for the next 4.5 more years or so. And then more of the development could happen here for Giga Texas. What we're seeing with the water tower and this water treatment plant is the plant that serves this entire area. It was actually installed or constructed in the late 90s, early 2000s. It actually predates the electrical power plant that you can see on the left-hand side of the screen. And some of this has been recently added to not only because of the growth of the area, but also to support Giga Texas. This structure right in the middle of the screen we saw being built about a year and a half ago, and this is also where quite a bit of that black HDPE pipe was trenched using that horizontal trench right where all of those shorter power lines are and that road, and it extends underneath the Colorado River all the way over to Giga Texas, and it's serving much of the Giga Texas site, including some what we've been seeing recently over by the die shop and the battery cathode plant with that HDPE pipe continuing to be laid throughout that site. We're flying over the Sandhill Energy plant. This was built in the early 2000s and has continued to have some expansion work over the years. We're also seeing the Colorado River again right at the middle of the screen, obviously Giga Texas. This is the south end. You can see the work on some of the extension. That's currently where Stamping 2 is located with that opening on the right, and you can see some of those yellow wall panels being installed where some of the concrete wall panels and the windows had been removed. As we go over the South Bridge, you can still see the Colorado River here on the bottom of the screen. This forms the south border of Giga Texas's property. And also, this is that west support facility that you see under development. The triangular area is contractor parking. There's a large material storage location. You can see there's the housing community around this area as well. And that's been added in over the last about 15 years or so. And then as we continue to follow the Colorado River and also the River Road here at the middle of the screen, you can see this last remaining section that has some hills, some ponds. This is left over from the sand and gravel mining that took place here. We're also on the extreme far southwest corner of the property that Tesla owns. But this area has had some recent earthwork, as you can tell, and some of this I think was being used for grade work nearby over where the new end-of-line facility is being constructed. But also some of this has been to remove more of the hills and ponds. So it's possible they will continue this work at some point and finish up this area, and we won't have any of the hills and ponds remaining, and then maybe there'll be another construction project here at some point. But as I try to maneuver around the sun, this is a good view of that contractor parking lot and some of the roadways that have been added on. A lot of the materials here on the left coming into view are being used for construction. There are also some of the items for the assembly lines being installed inside Giga Texas. Some of this material has been on site for quite some time. Others is fairly new. But one thing is for sure, this entire site is being used pretty much to its maximum capacity for materials. On the left, you can see the roadwork that is being installed that will run through the middle of this section. You can also see kind of a Y here. It'll go through the tree belt, and then it will go on the right-hand side of that material staging at some point. You also get a chance to see some of the houses right on the bottom right of the screen. This is the western boundary of this part of Giga Texas's property. And of course, you can see the end-of-line structure with that big slab, some of the steel, and the new car staging and outbound lot being constructed as well. Another material storage on the left with the tents, and some of that is actually landscaping materials also. And then as we fly over this portion of Tesla's land, on the upper left, you can see another large material staging location. That's where they put a lot of steel, and they also have some welding shop that does some modification to the steel parts. Most of the area that you see right here is completely undeveloped, but maybe at some point we'll see more work. And then this is where Tesla Road is meeting Farm to Market 973. They're widening the Tesla Road section here. You can see some of the paving work on the left. They've also put in underground stormwater pipe, and they are widening Farm to Market 973, as you can see on the right-hand side of the screen as well. So this is going to be a much bigger road and a bigger intersection, which is very much needed because of the growth of the area. This is the Lone Star Asphalt and Paving and Concrete plant that you see. That part is not in the property that Tesla owns. However, this large green field is. And as we continue to fly sort of to the north, I will be giving you a good view of this side. I don't normally fly over here, but at some point maybe we'll see Tesla do something with this land. But it's a fairly large section that definitely could be used for quite a bit of things, and I'll be curious to see what Tesla does with all of this. Now, the highway in the middle of our left-hand side of the screen, that is State Highway 130. That's that toll road. That's the main road that we usually see along the west side of the main factory. Taking advantage of the really low traffic today because of the holiday, I'm trying to give you a good view of all of this material in the middle of the two main sections of the highway. A lot of this is part of the Texas Department of Transportation. It does not belong to Tesla, and much of this material has been used in association with the construction of State Highway 130. Now that we've gotten to the east side of the highway, we're back onto Tesla property again. In the upper left-hand corner, you can see some of those large power poles. That's actually where the electrical switchyard and Megapack is. So this gives you a really good idea of just how far north we are of even that site. Much of the ponds on this left-hand side is just more remaining from that sand and gravel mining that used to occur here. And we can also just see the extent of how much more land that Tesla owns and how much more development could be done. I don't know. Some people keep asking whether or not they're going to build another giant factory. As you can tell, seeing Giga Texas in the far distance, there's certainly enough land if they choose to do so. Now, these ponds on the right are also part of the Giga Texas property. You can see in the upper left that large rectangular field, and then here in the middle of the screen is the old farmhouse. And this is still part of Giga Texas's property. The old farmhouse predates this site by many decades, but it was purchased by Tesla several years ago, probably around 2020, when Giga Texas was being prepared for construction. Now, this farmhouse is going to be used as a remote outpost security for Tesla. And part of the reason is this large field is permitted for construction. It'll be the North Logistics lot, also permitted for a warehouse. And right in the middle here, there's going to be a new road that's going to be constructed very soon. And a little later in the video, I'll show you where that road's going to be initiating on the east side. A lot of these materials have been stored here for some time. Much of this is items that would be associated with assembly lines. Maybe general assembly, maybe some of them for body in white. All of this will eventually go inside the main factory. So that gives you an idea of just how much production capability they are adding to Giga Texas and how much is yet to go for that assembly and installation in the factory. This large field I call Lone Tree for kind of obvious reasons. If you remember Cyber Rodeo, there was a video of a bunch of Model Ys racing around and chasing a lady on a horse. It was all done on this particular field. And then on the left-hand side of the screen, you can see this housing complex. This is the eastern border of the property that Tesla owns. You can see Giga Texas, the battery cathode plant die shop in the far distance. Part of the reason why I'm flying along this eastern border is not only giving you a good look at that rental equipment lot and maintenance that you can see in the upper right, but in the lower left and left-hand side of the screen where all this tree belt is, recently there was survey crews that came out. They surveyed all of this area, marked a lot of the trees, and they've marked out a path where the road that I mentioned will originate from. And it's going to be right in this location, and it's going to run more or less straight to the west and slightly to the right of this image, all the way over to State Highway 130. And some of the work is already underway on the center of the screen, towards the top. You can see trees have been removed. This is where some of that road's going to go. Also, you can see all of this concrete slab segments. This is what was cut up and broken up and removed from the south end of the building to begin the work for the extension process. Again, all of this is rental equipment. That rounded topped kind of structure is the maintenance shop. And then as I pause here, you can see much of the trees on the left that have been removed. All of this middle section had trees before. All of that has been removed. And those kind of islands with trees, they have power poles right now, so they need to remove those, and then they can remove the rest of that dirt. As I continue to fly towards the east, you can get a good sense of this tree belt well to the east of the battery cathode plant. I don't normally come all the way over to here, but I think this is a really good perspective. Now, right in the middle of the screen is more of the Colorado River. It kind of snakes along the east side, and then it comes up and makes a loop right underneath the drone, and then it continues further to the east. But this section here with all of these trees, you can see that cell tower and that kind of clearing in here. This is all actually part of Giga Texas's property as well, and it was part of that land purchase for 2021. And this is that large lake that we talked about earlier in the video. This is just the north end of it. Now, interestingly enough, in that clearing that you see, we've talked in the past, I've showed you some of the documentation that there's supposed to be work with a boring tunnel originating right in that middle section and then going underneath the Colorado River and coming up near where the battery cathode plant is. And I haven't seen all that work happen, but we'll continue to monitor it. In this image here at the bottom of the screen, you can see the Colorado River as it's kind of snaked around, and then you can see that large lake that we've been talking about. And you know, they've talked about the open to the public nature boardwalk area, and having this lake available for boats and for just the public to come out and enjoy themselves might be something that Tesla has in mind. I don't know for sure, but it would make a lot of sense to me. And right in this section here, next to the cell tower, is supposedly where a boring tunnel is supposed to be constructed and emanating from, but I haven't seen any of that happening in well over a year since the documentation was published. As we continue to fly now facing more or less to the south, you can see the lake on the left, Colorado River here right in the middle. On the top left of the screen, you can see that power plant, the Sand Hill Energy Plant that we talked about earlier in the video. And now as I cross back over the Colorado River, this is the east side that normally I only fly rarely, and I don't really go much farther than this. But this is where all the contractor trailers are, some of the materials, some of the equipment. And also at the bottom center of the screen is where they continue to do some recycling of the Model Y bodies, maybe if they failed testing or there's some other issues with it. Most of the rest of the recycling has been moved to the southeast part of the factory. Anyway, as we fly along here, I'll give you a good view from this vantage point of the battery cathode plant, the cell test lab, that steel rounded top structure, the Wade pit in the middle of the screen, this large parking lot next to the cell testing lab, that smaller steel structure, and also we get a good view of the die shop from here and just the entire complex of structures that are being installed and constructed here on this side. Interestingly enough, in the middle of the screen, you can see that round concrete pipe. There's a lot of water around it too. It looks like some of that well is continuing to flood there. The water table on this part of the property is actually quite high, and it's something that the crews have had to deal with, and they continue to deal with while they're doing the construction over near the battery cathode plant. As we fly along this section of the land, again, all of this is part of Giga Texas, including this lake, all of that green section. This is the mobile patch plant that was established at the end of 2020 and has provided almost all of the concrete that has been used for the construction of Giga Texas and all of the other projects around the site. And they added that because they knew they were going to just need that much volume of concrete. As we fly over the power poles, we can see the electrical switch yard on the left. It's both the new permanent one and the smaller temporary switch yard. And then here is the Megapack site. All 68 of the Megapacks have been installed, 34 of the transformers. The wiring is being completed, and they're doing some of the other electric components and the big transformer just to the north there. As we approach back to the main factory, I'm going to continue the tour, and we're going to do a closer in view of some of the east side and then the rest of the main building as well, from a different altitude than I normally use. So as we cross over the power lines again, this is the east parking lot. This is also where currently the outbound lot is for new vehicles. This is where vehicles are brought, staged, picked up by trucks, and then moved off-site. And a lot of this area is full of vehicles during the week. This is generally where Tesla employees park. And because there's been just so much vehicle traffic because of the number of employees now, they added in this expansion lot that you can see right in the middle of the screen. This is a good view of some of the materials, some of the workshops, some of the trailers in and of this section. A little bit more of that green belt. At one time, all of this area was covered with trees, and it's just amazing to see how much that has changed. Now, there has been some permits that have talked about this entire area with additional work at some point in the future. What those are going to be, what structures, I don't know, but at some point, all of this materials, all of those trailers and equipment will be moved out, and this will be a prime location for additional construction for Giga Texas. You can see here near the trees, there's some small workshops, and this is that multi-level parking garage construction site. And if you've been watching my videos, you know just how much this has grown and how this entire section has changed. Again, there were a lot of trees, especially near where those concrete pipes are. All of that has been recently removed. Here's a good close-in view of the outbound lot as it looks today. On the left is some of the tents that the end-of-line crews use, and this is where they park most of the vehicles. Also, I noticed while we're here, there's 4 Cybertrucks that have shown up on the outbound lot. Here they are. They're all parked in B21, which is one of the locations where they put the vehicles. Of course, these are all undercover, so it makes it really difficult to identify if they really are Cybertrucks or not. But anyway, this just gives you an idea of what it looks like here on Labor Day. And as we talked in my previous video, there are rumors that for the next couple of weeks, the Cybertruck line is kind of been taken down as they are doing some retooling and completing more of the installation and assembly of equipment to prepare for that full-scale production to ramp up. So I'll continue to monitor, and we'll see what we can tell as far as the outbound lot and the number of Cybertrucks. So here we're going to do a tour around the main factory at about this altitude all the way around. This gives you a good look at the east side where the trailers, the receiving doors appear, also just some of the materials, some of the stain work that is continuing on this side of the exterior walls. Also where some of the new vehicles and all the Cybertrucks have been exiting the factory recently. The concrete that you see here at the bottom with the road work and that large intersection, this is to essentially extend River Road on the south side of the Cyberpond across over to the west side, and then also to the north along the east side paralleling the structure. All of this south end continues to be prepared for that building extension. We can already see that one part that has been extended, that is part of Stamping 2, and it looks like they're installing what will eventually be interior walls using some steel studs and similar of that yellow material that you see on the rest of the structure. And you can see those kind of rectangular excavations. After further review, it looks like those may be where they previously did some soil tests, drills and soil stress testing, and it looks like they have dug them back up. Maybe they're going to be removing them now that they're no longer needed. This is a good view of the west side. A lot of the materials that you see here are being moved inside to continue that expansion of the assembly lines, General Assembly Lines 2 and 3. Also, a good sense of the work on that west main entrance, which is definitely coming along. And again, more materials here on the west side, all being prepared to be moved in to continue that expansion of the inside of Giga Texas. So as we get ready to conclude the grand tour, we'll finish up here on the north end and get a good view of the overall factory and the site. I hope that you enjoyed this grand tour, some of the areas that you don't normally see, and hopefully the discussion along the way helped fill in some questions that you may have. But if you have more, let me know in the comment section. I'll do what I can to help answer them. But as always, thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate it. I hope you have a great Labor Day weekend. And as always, take care.